I always wanted to serve on a jury.
I'm really super excited to be here, so I really appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Creating this whole trial daddy.
I want to give a big shout out to the 13th Jury Podcast and Brandy.
Yeah, I applaud you guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
That every time you run into Phil Barber, you should reach for it.
And then I just looked to the jury, and it's sort of like, look.
I was in the eye of the storm, and you guys were watching the storm.
Hey, if your porter works, come pop in and say, hey, we'll have some coffee.
You are a ray of sunshine, and I love what you've done with your YouTube channel.
Hi, friends. Hey, y'all. Good afternoon. I'm so used to saying good morning when I pop on. I'm so used to saying good morning. So saying good afternoon after I just woke up from a nap and I'm like disoriented, don't know what time it is. Hey, y'all. Happy Sunday fun day. I am so glad to see y'all. I was not planning on doing a live today, but it happened. Let me get this stuff. Y'all should see my monitors right now. I have 3 big monitors, right? And they are all full of documents and have been all week. When I say I've been down this rabbit hole, I have been down this rabbit hole because it started with just looking into like 1 or 2 things. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. It actually started with 1 court document. That has, I think I've spent $300 on FOIA requests this week. And, oh yeah, my shirt. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. But I am not going to be able to post the podcast today. There's still a few things that I need to, wrap up on it, and I don't want to rush it, and I'm just tired. I've been working so much. Y'all know how it is during trial time because I stream with y'all all day, and then I work on the podcast and I work on the recaps after that, and then the podcast all night. So I have not gotten it done. And look, can you see? I don't know if you can see that. I'm not doing like the whole production thing with the light on and all that crap. I'm just hanging out on Sunday. But see, you see, I'm peeling. Remember when I went on the boat last week or whenever it was? Was it last weekend? I am peeling so bad right now. So bad. So if you see that, that's what it is. See that? Isn't that weird? Just shedding my skin for summer. We have some anniversaries. Let's look at these. Clement says, welcome back. Welcome back. Toy Dom for 21 whole months. I've missed y'all. I've missed you too. We're still together every day on Crime Junkie Jury, but I know it's weird like now being back and like seeing like my 13th juror and all my stuff because I still got all my 13th juror stuff on all my podcast and everything, but then I'm streaming on Crime Junkie Jury some too, so every day. Silly Pick, we are together again. Happy anniversary. PJ Wolf, hello. For 21 whole months. Oh, and we have our emojis. Oh, we have our emojis. I miss the emojis. I keep telling them. I know we all want the emojis. Keep telling them. They're working on it. All they got to do is press the button. We're ready for it. You just got to turn them on. I don't know. I need y'all to remember for 1 whole year. 1 whole year. I am on the edge of my seat for this rabbit hole. Y'all, if you could just see, I think I have like my little, for all the stuff I do or whatever, when I'm fact checking everything, like I have like my little, like spreadsheet where I put all of my sources. And it's usually like 3 or 4, different links where I'm researching things, and then however many, like, 2 or 3 documents or whatever. It's usually like 5 to 7. There's like I'm up to like 50 something documents. When I tell you that I have been on a rabbit hole, because it started with Dr. Welcher and then it took me on this whole different path. And then it did bring me back to Dr. Welcher. But so, and I guess the trolls are thinking that I'm about to like sit here and like go over his life history and pull up his like 7th grade cavities or so. I don't know. I don't know what they think. I don't know. I guess I don't know what they're doing. Like my inbox has been blowing up like with people asking, or like ask if I'm okay or like saying, like giving support and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'd block them. I don't know what they're doing. That's none of my business. I could care less. This is the stuff I like, focusing my attention on y'all and looking up stuff and rabbit holes. And the reason that I have been so invested on this one is because it is all about corruption, and I can't wait to share this with y'all. And some of you might know it. Maybe I am just late to the party. But it just took me on this whole side quest that just has like I've been reading, and I ordered a book that I tried so hard to find it on some kind of like electronic edition or whatever, and there wasn't one. So I have to wait to get it, and I'm so mad. So there may be more information coming when I can get that book. I also have to have time to actually read it, but this is like, so we're going to start with I'll show you the thing that got me into this, the thing with Welcher that got me into this. And then we go in a whole different, like we go down a rabbit hole. So I can't wait to show y'all everything because it's so interesting to me. So interesting. And it's all about exposing corruption. And I'm here for it. 2 whole years. That's the first one that we've had that says 2 years, isn't it? I think it is, Denise. Isn't that the first one? I'm pretty sure. Is it? I can't remember. It's the first one today, so we'll still be just as excited. I can't remember, but 2 whole years. Oh, I miss this. Crazy. I know. I miss us being able to be over here. We're still over here some. We'll probably be over here more once I'm not streaming live, because then I'll have time to do more like this kind of stuff where we're just like chilling. And Mickey, hello. Thank you for the super chat. Stay strong, Brady. The attacks have been unnecessary. You're doing great helping expose corruption. Thank you. Yeah, I'm unbothered. I don't like they can have it. I like the thing is like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pull up my arrest record. We've already talked about that multiple times online. You're gonna pull up like the one thing about where I called Turtle Boy a psycho. Yeah, he knows. Like we literally talked about it on my interview. You're gonna pull up the thing about the cult. Yeah, I stand by that. It's the cult that's the weird shit. They don't show like where I said, most aren't like that. Like it's like the psychos, the one that we've had to block in here. I stand by that. I'm not like they are psychos. And I also stand by the fact that I'm not going to fight fights online and draw all this unnecessary crap from psychopaths when I don't have to. Like it's just not what I'm here to do. This is what I'm here to do. Like to go down these, like little research rabbit holes, find interesting stuff, bring it to y'all and talk to y'all about it. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not here to fight with people on the internet. So while I'm researching things that matter, they can research me. I don't care. I'm unbothered. I do appreciate their tenacity. Bless them. Let me see. Did I get all of these? I want to make sure before we finally caught a live show. Welcome. I I need to put some lotion on. I just woke up from a nap too, and then I just came in. I was like, I wanted to do this since I know I'm not gonna be able to finish the podcast tonight anyway. I was like, I'm so overworked. I was like, I'm just gonna rest tonight. My brain is like, so because it's been going the three monitors with a ton of documents. That's how my brain has been all week. So I haven't had, and I worked sun up yesterday till I worked through the night. How's my foot? It is doing a lot better. I do still have some of like the little spines in there, but they are like most of them are coming out. And I do have like the biggest ones that are out. So I'm actually able to walk now without the crutches and stuff. Yes. What up, Valhalla? Hello, hello. Rabbit hole. I am hyped for this too. I am hyped for this too. Because it goes into something that like this whole thing I just never even knew happened. Or never. And I guess it's still happening. And I never knew it was going on. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'm still trying to read. I know y'all are like, get started already, but I just want to. I made the mistake of going down your troll rabbit hole. Those people, yeah, I don't bother. Every once in a while, like I'll like, if it's one that I haven't blocked yet, then they'll come up and I'll be like, oh, it's like whack a troll. They come up and you're like, oh. But yeah, I'm unbothered. No, the next pod isn't out. It's not out. It's not going to be out until hopefully tomorrow. I'm gonna finish it tomorrow. But I just there's a few like really important things on there that I don't want to rush. And so potentially tomorrow. As soon as I can, I promise. It's hard too when I'm streaming all day and then so when I don't have the daytime to work on it, and then every daytime is adding more stuff. Oh, Chrissy Bacon, hello. Meant for 22 whole months. 22 whole months. I'm happy too. Kelly May, hello. Hello. Hi, Creative Bee. Hi. Sorry, I know I'm trying to I have an arrest record, 3 DUIs. Haha. Yeah, I have an arrest from 19 years ago. TV was defending you, I believe. Yeah, like yeah, he has. And like, because like, what you think he's gonna get mad because I called him a psychopath? I called him a psychopath on my show. And I think I told him he was an asshole too. And he laughed at that. And I was like, no offense, but you know. And like that, and they love to share the one where I said he ruined the case. I said that too. He ruined the case because people can't talk to you about the case. They can only talk to you about Turtle Boy. And that's annoying. But I also said, obviously, like I say he ruined the case in that sense. He also obviously drew a lot of attention to the case. But by drawing a lot of attention to the case, he ruined it because God, people can't even, like, you can't even have a talk with somebody without them bringing up why Karen is guilty because they hate Turtle Boy. I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Oh yeah, it's like they pick a person a week and go after them brutally. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I was like, it comes in waves and it's my turn again. But I was like, that's the thing is I'm like, do you think like if it's your goal that's sad but also ineffective, but if it's like because you think you're going to change my mind, that's also ineffective. So let them do them. I guess it's good for everybody to have a hobby. Sup players. Sup players. Brooklyn, hello. Hello. The problem with this case is the fact that no one wants to agree to disagree. Exactly. That's why I said, when you said earlier, I'll keep an open mind. I'm like, I don't need anybody to have an open mind because I can tell you what I see. I can tell you what I think. I can ask you what you think. We can talk about it. I can stand very firm in what I think. And I am not threatened by you seeing things differently because I'm a grown up. That's how that works. Candace Hoff Day. Look, Candace Hoff, every time I see your name now, we just need to put day at the end of it. Candace Hoff Day. Candace Hoff Day. How painful was that? The sea urchin. Oh, it was rough. It was rough. Tiger, hello. Oh, I'm behind I'm just scrolling on chat, trying to hang out with y'all. And I didn't realize how behind I am. Chicken rollers are for you fun. You choose. Thank you. You know what? Chicken rollers sounds so good. I might, when we finish here, I might get Chat Daddy to take me up to the 7-Eleven. I love me some chicken rollers. It's the little things in life. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, Tina T. I've been using Epsom salt. I don't use it enough. I actually should bring my little bucket in here because the hospital gave me like a little bucket. I had to go get a tetanus shot. So, but they gave me like one of the little buckets, and I've been using that. And I need to start doing that in the mornings too, because that really does help. I put that drawing salve stuff on there too, but I think the Epsom salt is helping pull them out more than that. Another rabbit hole is Marcy's office and the case involving Essex County Sheriff's son. Oh, that's one I haven't. Don't give me any more rabbit holes right now. I'm so tired. Mickey! For me, the amount of money they paid for Welcher immediately screamed shady. Yeah. I mean, especially once we get to the end of the rabbit hole. Yeah, we'll talk about that again. Melissa, hello. It's good to be home, sweet home. It is good to be home, sweet home. I have a rush record too, makes you a well-rounded person. Amen. Yeah, they act like I'm like that's gonna be what takes me down. I'm like, I'm the one that told y'all. I shared it. Seymour House, hello, member 23 home. I can't believe it's been that long either, right? It goes by fast. I'm anxious. Don't be anxious. Yeah, he became part of the case. I think when all of that stuff started happening where he like became like super involved, because my whole thing is like, I was like, I'm not I mentioned Turtle Boy in the very first episode of the podcast because obviously like I think I mentioned him, and then who was the other? Oh, Wendy. And I was like, yeah, I think I used them screaming at each other as an example of like, two sides being so passionate about it, but both also truly believing that they're right. And that interested me. And so I wanted to listen to like the two people that I saw at the time who were like positive of it. Cause it's so rare for like, you don't always get the cases where it's like, people are like screaming, fighting because they know that they're right. And then the other side is too. And that's so interesting to me, right? It's like a social experiment to watch people talk about stuff like that. And so that's what I think I brought that up in like the first episode when I was talking about how passionate the sides are or whatever. And but so I had mentioned him in like that context, about like different things about like him covering different things or whatever. But I was like, I am staying out of his personal life. Like, that's not what I'm here for. Like, that's none of my damn business. And then he became part of the case. So then it's like, okay. I have like tried so hard to avoid getting all up in your business, and then it became part of the case. And it's like, well, we have to go over this. But I'll say this: that one interview that we did where we were going over all of those, that interview that kind of ended up being like after the bedroad letters, that was one of my favorite interviews because that was like, because I had stayed out of everything for so long, I'd only seen the legal documents for it. So that was cool to like hear, like see the legal documents, be like, okay, what the heck? And then see, hear like his side of all of that and kind of how it ended up connecting or whatever. So I thought that was a cool interview. What's up, players? What's a chicken roll, please? It's like a chicken type product. It's questionable chicken, but we're not eating it for its nutritional value. It's like a hot dog shape, but it's like a chicken nugget, but it's like buffalo, but it's got cheese in it. It's like Jesus and the 7-Eleven were like, we're going to give you a gift. And that was it. That's what it is. It's amazing. Good to see you. Hello. Broken Baker. I have no arrest records. I'm a fast runner. I should have got something like wheelies. So, or whatever they're called. Could have got away. Yeah, you end up having one of the best. That was one of my favorite interviews. Yeah. Brooklyn, that part. Yeah. People are willing to trash the whole Constitution just to convict someone is a dangerous concept to me. And this is what is, and this is why I say he ruined the case, because it goes beyond just people can't tell you why she's guilty without saying, I hate Turtle Boy. But it goes so far beyond that because I have literally watched people get mad at him, and that is what gets them into this case. So everything that happens in the actual case is a moot point. It is all about everything that he thinks. I have to think the other. And like all of this harassment going, I haven't looked, but I hear it's bad. But whatever they're doing to me, like, I mean, it got bad for like when they started reaching out to like my family and stuff. That's when it, but all of that, like, doing stuff like that is okay. Like they're okay with that. I have hundreds of accounts, not hundreds of people, blowing me up saying vile things to me every day. I turn my notifications off, but that's okay. But it's like, if you even acknowledge it, then it is an instant like, well, Turtle Boy this, Turtle Boy that, Turtle Boy that. I'm not Turtle Boy. It'll be posts that have nothing to do with him. And people are so bothered by him that they don't care about constitutional stuff or evidence type stuff or hypocrisy or any of the things that go against what's happening. And that just blows my mind. The fact that like I've never based what I thought on a case based on somebody that was covering the case. It's wild to me. It's wild to me. Hi, Mary. Hello. I have no arrest record. I'm clearly behind. I'm surprised they haven't found my mugshot. I don't think I've seen it since I was 20s. Oh yeah, it's moot point. Moot point. It's a moot point. My bad. I'll fix my failure. Welcome. Tajman for 24 months, 2 whole years. Love your shirt. Thank you. It's a good one for tonight, I reckon. All right. So yeah, they don't. Yeah. Hello. I'm still loyal. 13th year forever. 13th year forever. Miss Lurker edition extraordinary. I can't talk. Miss Lurker extraordinaire. Nikki, love this family so much. Remember for 25 months. 25 months. I think that's our first 25 month, isn't it? Laura, welcome. Okay, so let's get started. Shall we? I don't even know where to start, y'all. This is like, let me find, I have different spreadsheets for different things. Let me find. Here, let me share my screen with y'all too, because because I can show y'all some of what has started this rabbit hole. Okay. Wait, where's my other? Oh, there it is. See, I'm telling y'all, when I say I've got so many tabs on here, y'all should see it. Okay, so the first half of the podcast is going over, which you'll hear it when I'm done with it, but it's going over all of the stuff from the week. It's basically like all of Dr. Welcher's testimony put together and all that, right? And then I saw this one document, but it was like a screenshot of it. And I never trust screenshots. So I looked it up, found the actual court case, and it all started with that, and it just went downhill from there. But not even just downhill. It went like downhill, around the hill, up the hill, down the hill, in the hole, around the corner. And it put me on like this whole path that I was not anticipating. Thank you, Chrissy Bacon, for gifting memberships. I keep looking at this one and not this one. So if I've missed anybody that gifted memberships, I'm so sorry, because I don't think it shows me on here on this one. And that's what I've been looking at. So I'm sorry if I missed it. But thank you. Hey, Olivia. Hello. Okay, so it all started with that. All right, now I'll kind of I'm going to use what I've written for so far for the podcast for like an outline for this to kind of make sure that I can hit all the points because it's so everywhere. I call this podcast 13 Juror because I look at everything from non-attorney perspective, right? Because I'm not an attorney or a defense expert or, any of these things. I'm just a nosy girl who's really good at spreadsheets, who just is very into this stuff. Because of that, when there's stuff I don't know, then I have to research it. The amount of research I've had to do to follow all of this has been this is my list so far of like the links to the different things. And that's not even including, that's just the links to different things I found online for this, like my sources. That's not even including all of the FOIA requests and the emails and the documents that are downloaded. That's just 20 and 30. That's 31 different links to like different crap. Because I have to research this when I don't understand it, right? So that I understand what it is, why it's important and all that. So I found the one case that kind of piqued my interest, and it was saying that hold on, let me pull that one up. It was saying that there were a few of them. Okay, so look, there were different things where people had sent me where there are different court cases where they're questioning methodology for Dr. Welcher. I'm not surprised about that. That's going to be in every single case that we do, right? Like they're going to, it's a natural thing. So anytime like somebody's, questioning methodology of an expert, that's kind of a no big deal thing. Normally, we'll get to that part. Normally it's a no big deal thing because it happens every time. And, sometimes let's say if you have an expert who's in, 100 trials a year or whatever, testifying in 100 trials a year, and they're averaging, getting excluded from one every few years or whatever. Like, I don't know what their statistics are. None of that stuff is like, really matters to me. Like that's just normal stuff. But what got me interested in this one was kind of the other stuff that came from me looking into that. So I am going to start on a whole different rabbit hole, and you're not even going to hear Dr. Welcher's name for a long time, because in order for you to even understand, it's like I started scratching here and then had to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper to where I could get to the point to where I even understood what the heck was happening. And then I got to like this whole big corruption, like uncovering thing, and it was wild. Anyway, so I'm going to start from the beginning of how it makes sense to tell everything. All right. So part of my research, we've heard in the last couple of years, right? Here, I guess I can take this off right now because I don't have the documents yet to show you until I tell you this part. So there are like different types of collisions, different types of car impacts, stuff like that. We've heard that, a lot about that in the last couple of years, right? No surprise there. So when you get in a wreck, your insurance company will like do their little investigation or whatever, like evaluate it, see what the property damage is, like the out-of-pocket cost, all that stuff. So they have an insurance adjuster who, stop pressing buttons, Brandy. Look, it's already starting. I just exited out of half of the links I need. So anyway, they have, and all, by the way, all of this is stuff that I have in my little link over here with all my research, because these are all things I don't, that are pulled from different sources. I'm not going to cite every single source, but this is all crap I didn't know. Or at least no specifics of it. So if an insurance adjuster determines that your accident is worth between $1,000 to $1,500 in damages, apparently it is considered minor impact, and it's labeled as a MIST claim, M-I-S-T. And that stands for minor impact soft tissue. And a soft tissue injury refers to like muscle damage that you can't really see. You may not be able to tell that anything's wrong with you unless you have like an actual proper health assessment after a car accident. And whiplash is an example of that, like where your neck goes, back and forth. Most people, I looked up on, I think it was Mayo Clinic, like most people on the, that have whiplash can get better from it within a few weeks. Like they'll do like, I think it said like, different physical therapy type exercises or whatever, and then pain medicines or whatever. Most are fine in a couple weeks, or I said a few weeks, I think is what it said. But some do have like long lasting neck pain and other complications, and like blurred vision and headaches and memory problems and ringing in your ear and all kinds of stuff like that. And that's just for whiplash. So that's just like kind of one example of like the soft tissue injury. There's also other symptoms aside from whiplash, like other things that, that won't show up right away. When I was reading some of these medical journals, and when you're hit, your body like does different things, whatever. Like some of the injuries, even if you're not hit much, your body will have a reaction to it. It's not just like you hit and it falls. When like a crash dummy, like if you were just to hit a crash dummy, then whatever force that's hitting the crash dummy is just what the force there is. But if you are an actual person getting hit, then your body your muscles, everything will react to impact. So it kind of causes like a whole different scenario to happen. So there can be injuries that you wouldn't think would come from like a car that doesn't have a ton of damage, but we all know you can hit a car and not have a ton of damage. So some of these symptoms will show up after, like you may not feel it till like the next day, week later, whatever. But it can it can lead to like chronic pain, long-term disability, stuff like that. So insurance adjusters know this, and they know that not everyone experiences the symptoms right away. And so this is where everything goes downhill. Okay. There's this company called McKinsey & Company. It's like the world's biggest, most powerful like corporate consulting firm. Like they're the ones that had like Enron and like all the big companies. So they were hired by a bunch of these insurance companies like Allstate and State Farm, for example, to basically kind of come in and like redesign their claims department to turn the claims department into profit centers. And it was like huge business. This was the documents I had I pulled like there's so much litigation on this stuff, which is why I've spent so much on FOIA requests. But some of it was available online for free, but a lot of it wasn't. But I think it was like a deposition or something that I read. I would have to look at my chart, but it said it was like $84 million or something that State Farm paid this company in 2 years. Like it was $84 million for 2 years. And the lady from State Farm I think it was like a deposition or whatever. She was like, yeah, it was, we got our money's worth. $84 million. So basically they have this company come in and redo everything. I think it was 1995. It was Allstate that hired them to come in, and they call it the CCPR. Yeah, CCPR. It's the Core Claims Process Redesign. And that kind of changed everything about the car insurance industry, because the principles of like insurance law are basically, there's all these protections in place where the insurance company is supposed to give as much consideration to the policyholders as they do the profits. And there's all these, laws in place to protect policyholders. But under this new McKinsey model, all of that kind of changed because they began to aggressively pursue profit, and they did it at the expense of the policyholders. Like the claim payments were dramatically reduced, but the premiums stayed the same, or a lot of them rose. So I pulled it's like the Securities and Exchange Commission stuff or whatever. The CEO, y'all, from Allstate, it was like during the time when all of this was happening, there's like all these catastrophic things like Katrina and all this stuff, all these catastrophic events happening, and insurance companies should have been like plummeting in profit. And they had just adopted this new McKinsey thing, and they were like soaring, like ridiculous profit. He built a personal fortune of like $150 million in stock options and bonuses. And all because the policy holders with Allstate were getting lowball offers on all their claims and basically told, take it or leave it, and kind of screwed over. If you do the math on that, okay, think about 1 million claims. Let's say they shave just $1,000 off of 1 million claims. All of that is extra profit going to these insurance companies. That's crazy. So, of course, this resulted in a lot of litigation over the years, and Allstate has tried to like suppress public knowledge about how bad these McKinsey policies are. And it's not just Allstate. You know, like I said, they did like Enron and other companies, whatever. But if you want to look into them, it's like it's a whole thing. But anyway, there's this attorney, David Berardinelli. I don't want to get his name wrong. So McKinsey put together a PowerPoint presentation. Love PowerPoints, right? And it was like more than 12,000 slides. And there's different litigation that I read for different things. And so there's nobody knows the exact number. It's more than 12,000. They're estimated to be like between like 12 to 14,000 slides. That's a long slideshow. That's a long slide. We thought Welcher's 131. It's a long slideshow. Anyway, PowerPoint presentation. So they put all of the information on how they did this whole like reorganization thing for Allstate. They put it all on a PowerPoint. So this CCPR is what they're calling it. It's basically like this PowerPoint where it's like it goes over all of these things. And y'all, some of the stuff that I read, it was so bad. It was so bad. Like I could do a whole podcast on just this rabbit hole that I've been on this week, and I'm trying to fit this into like half of the episode. It's so bad. It's like they're like the law is that you have to pay out the claims, like, you know, I can't remember how they worded. I had to look at like promptly and fairly or whatever, and they're like, oh, we can't do both. You can't do both. That's not profitable. You can pay it either promptly or fairly, but you can't do both. And they like the rules are like or the slides or whatever are like, yeah, it's like your main goal is profit at all costs, like no matter what. It's so bad. And so of course, they started basically like screwing over all of the insurance holders. So all of these slides get brought up during all of this litigation that's now starting because they're screwing everybody over and everybody's suing them. So Allstate's like, oh, no. We don't want anybody to see those. We don't want anybody to see any of that, because if people are able to read our policies on how it's our goal to screw you over so that we can get rich, that will be bad for us. So they did have to turn them over to the court, but they were under a temporary seal. So the public was not allowed to see them, but the attorneys and the court was allowed to see them. So this attorney, David Berardinelli, I don't know why that name is so hard for me. It might be because I'm sleep deprived. David Berardinelli, he was the plaintiff's lawyer. So he had access to these slides for like 2 years. While he had them preparing for trial, he was like reviewing them, studying them, and he did like a very, very summarized, or I mean, very, very detailed like summary of everything that was on there. And okay. So he's got all this. They go through this trial. The court has ordered that these slides have to be made public. That's, of course, really bad for Allstate. That's, of course, really bad for other companies like State Farm, who are also kind of using the same thing, but this is mostly Allstate. But it's really bad for, all involved. They tried to fight the court order, and their appeal to the court order that's saying they have to come unsealed is denied. But Berardinelli, who has all of these slides, after all of the appeals and everything are over, he turns the original slides back over to Allstate, not knowing that Allstate was going to be like, I don't care what the court order says. I'm not making these public. So Allstate refused to make them public. So Allstate was held in contempt of court. When he returned the copy of the slides to Allstate, and they refused to make them public, they ended up getting, I think it was they ended up getting a default judgment against them on liability for like willful disobedience of court orders, I think is what it was. Because they would rather have all of that than have the public know what they've done. So Berardinelli said, nope, I'm not having that. He's like, that's really messed up. So he wrote an article about the McKinsey slides for a trial lawyer's journal. And so Allstate found out about that and they were mad about that. So they asked for a gag order so that he wouldn't even be allowed to talk about it anymore. Then they accused him of lying to the court, and like, they're like, no, he still has our slides because he wouldn't have been able to, write this if he didn't have our slides still. So he has our slides. So they accused him of lying to the court about turning those slides over to them, which he didn't even have to do anyway. But he did it because he's an ethical attorney. But they accused him of lying. So he gave a copy of his notes to the court so that they could see that he's not lying. Like he's wrote this based on his own, summarized notes from when he had these for trial. So then they're like, okay, well, if, we can't do a gag order and we can't get him in trouble for, still having these, they asked for a seal to be, because now he's turned over his notes and now they're in the court file. So now they've asked for the court file to be sealed because it says that Allstate said that those records can't be public now because the notes are in there, and they said that there were trade secrets in there. So here's where we get back to the minor impact soft tissue stuff. So part of the way that the insurance companies were using those McKinsey slides from the PowerPoint or whatever, like their little thing that they laid out, they were cutting claims down and they were fighting injury claims with the minimal vehicle damage by denying that there's injury causation. Like whiplash, for example, if you can't see the injury, there's not a ton of damage to the car, then they'll deny the insurance claim, say it doesn't need medical treatment or whatever. And then they would make like a really low ball offer, and they would basically be like, yeah, take it or leave it. Like, here's your pennies on the dollar offer that, from what you should be getting, but yeah, take it or leave it. And Allstate adjusters were taught that, and this is what's so screwed up too. Allstate adjusters are taught that this is designed to fight growing fraud in the car accident business. But in reality, it's literally there, it's designed to create more profit. And there's a former insider, I found there's a CNN interview that I found that said that their policy came down to 3 basic elements. They deny it, delay it, and then defend it. So they deny the claim, and then they delay it for so long that whatever injuries there are that they're going through, by the time they go to court, they're not going to have visible injuries anymore. And the insurance companies, they're like, we know that if we can, delay it and they don't have visible injuries anymore, and then we show pictures and there's not a lot of damage to the car, then we can convince, and we can tell the jury they're just lying and greedy, then we won't have to pay anything. They would lowball it, and they had a policy from these McKinsey slides. They had a policy that was like, you take it to trial no matter what. You give them, there is no settling in between. You give them a lowball offer, and then you have to either take that offer, or we are going to break you going through litigation and drag it out, this long. And they said that they had estimated that that was the best policy because 90% of the people would take the lowball offer. And then the other people, they would make it so miserable to drag it out that it would make people not want to have to go to court. Crazy. So, there was one former Allstate agent that was interviewed in that same CNN interview, and she said that she was trained by Allstate to treat most minor accident victims as frauds. Like you were trained, like if there's not a lot of damage on the car, they are literally trained to assume that if they're saying they have any injuries, that they're a fraud. And she said that she would offer, like the offer she would make, she'd be like, yeah, $50, $100, basically hardly anything if they had minimal damage to their car, but they're saying that they're hurt. But then she saw things from the other side because she was in a car accident herself that had minimal damage to the car and like couldn't walk, had like severe pain. So when that happened, she was like, that's when she realized like, oh, what we're doing is not right. So there was another example of a woman who, and this is kind of the one that paints the picture of the deny, delay, and defend. This woman was rear-ended and she woke up the following day, like couldn't move. She had severe back pain. Both of her legs were like numb and tingly. And it turned out she had, hold on, let me look and see exactly what her injury was. I don't want to say wrong. Herniated disc muscle tears. Herniated disc muscle tears. And in between time off of work and medical bills and physical therapy and all that, it ended up costing her around like $15,000. And the person, okay, so get this. So the person who's driving the car who actually hit her was a State Farm employee and they were driving a State Farm car. So she's like, okay, I'll be covered because it's, of course State Farm's going to pay for it because a State Farm employee hit me with negligence in a State Farm car. But they drug out her claim. Then they keep in mind $15,000 is what this cost her. They drug out her claim. Then they only offered her $2,000. It took her 3 years to finally make it to the courtroom. And when she finally got to the courtroom, State Farm did everything they could to prevent having to pay her. So the insurance company followed those 3 elements. They denied it, they delayed it for 3 years, and then they took her to court to defend it. So during trial, they brought up a back injury from when she was like 16 years old. Then they brought up like personal things that she was going through. They tried to say like, oh, you just have a back injury from when you were 16. And now you're trying to go through all of this trouble to get. So then they brought up like personal things, right? They brought up in court that she had to sell her house and that she had to, or that she had like broken up with her like longtime boyfriend and that could cause her stress, which would then lead to her back pain, that she's just going through all of this because she broke up with her boyfriend and that caused her stress and that could cause her back pain. They painted her to this jury as a fraud and a liar. The State Farm employee is the one who hit her and they didn't want to pay. They painted her as a fraud and a liar. And then they showed the jury the pictures of the cars, which of course didn't have a lot of visible damage. That's the whole point of this. If they don't have visible damage, they're trying to say, or at least not a lot of it, if it's like between, under $1,500 or whatever it was for that one specific policy. But if it doesn't have a lot of damage, and then at this point, she's walking in and out, it's been years. So the jurors saw all this and she didn't seem hurt. The car didn't look too damaged. So the jury ended up awarding her like $1,500, which is less than the lowball offer that they had given her in the first place. So that's one way that they try to deny it. The other way they try to deny it is experts. Before we get to the experts, I want to look at some of your comments because the experts is where we go down the next level of the rabbit hole. This is a daily story. It's crazy. It's crazy. Being hit from a low speed can definitely cause serious injuries. So many people are underinsured or just driving around uninsured. Yeah. Yeah. But even the people who are insured, the insurance companies are like, it's their policy to lowball it, not have to play it. Oh, and y'all, this isn't even like all the, okay. So the ones that I stayed like, because I went down the full rabbit hole, but I only like am putting the stuff in the podcast for the, as it relates to auto accidents. But it's actually so much worse too. Like, y'all, the one that was the worst to me is the one that was like the casualty insurance. They created a automated system that was literally programmed to give estimates on like, claims payouts or whatever. It was literally programmed to where it would give you or offer 20% less than than what they should have been, than what they used to, than what they were, whatever. Automatically to give 20% less. And then they give you this like take it or leave it thing. And then these people are like, they're like the slide things or whatever, I guess like the some reform or whatever, it said something about like it actually said they are going to need the money and decide to take it. And that's so dirty. Then there was all of this litigation that came because they were denying claims for like when Katrina came and all of that. Like it's so bad. It's so bad. And the way that it gets worse. You should be able to negotiate with your lawyer to try and win more to also cover your lawyer fees. Yeah, it's so bad. Hi. I'll never understand the power of greed. It's so bad. All right, I'm gonna keep going. All right, so the next way that they get into denying these claims and fighting having to pay people out is through experts. Now, keep in mind, what they're paying, the experts is probably more than they would have to pay out in some of these, claims. Not all of them, but some of them. But they don't want to do that because the goal is to prevent people from wanting to go to court. So it's worth it for them to pay more for an expert than they would pay in the claim because that means they will have fewer court appearances. It's so dirty. So the McKinsey firm, this is where it gets dirtier. The McKinsey firm found a company called MinorPac, like it's like MINORPAC, but I think it's like a play on like minor impact. But anyway, it's called MinorPac. And it's owned by, or was owned by, two insurance defense doctors. So they said that they had mathematical equations that supported this contention that minimal vehicle damage meant there is no causational injury. Like if there's, we've done all the math is mathing. And if there's not a lot of damage to your car, we have these figures and numbers. Look at our shiny figures and numbers, and this supports that. So McKinsey has now this company. The problem was all of their equations and all of their data did not prove that at all. It was actually all false calculations and information, and it was specifically designed to support the missed defense by misleading the judges and the jurors with junk science. So Allstate adopted this missed defense, the minor impact soft tissue thing, offering these lowball offers, pushing it to trial, whatever. But then if they get to trial, now they have these doctors who are like, yeah, here's all of our support showing that they ain't hurt. They start making outrageous profits from pushing this defense in the courtroom, because now they're winning all of the trials. And not long after that, all of the other insurance companies kind of like followed suit. So then Allstate began using defense biomechanists and defense crash reconstructionists to support the missed defense. Do you see where we're getting back to where we started with all of this? So they started having biomechanical engineers and crash reconstructionists that they would pay large amounts of money to come into the courtroom and support this missed defense. So there was this study by a dude, he's like a family physician. He was testifying for insurance companies at the time, and he did a study, if you can even call it that. Like, he had like 8 volunteers, and they put helmets on, and like they did some testing. But anyway, this is kind of what started this whole thing. So they did like random daily testing, random daily activities, like plopping into a chair, for example. So like, let's say like you plop into a chair, they would calculate things like on your head, like the acceleration and force and all of that. And they like based on the movement of these helmets and stuff. So this guy had these people, like these 8 people in helmets and whatever. So he's looking at the force and all of that stuff, whatever. Like, he calculates all these different things. It's in the study. It's on one of the links. But he basically decides that the impact from just random daily activities, like sitting in a chair or raising a gallon of milk or, things like that, that it's basically biomechanically comparable to these low impact crashes. So he becomes like a hero in the world of insurance companies, and he's doing all of their internal training videos for all state adjusters. And he's like literally training them on all of this crap for how to handle missed claims. So over the next few years, this catches on. And then there are like 20 articles that come out to support this insurance defense. Some of them say that like, oh, whiplash it's psychological. It's psychological. It's all in their head. It's not like true. That there was literally one that said that. That's crazy, right? Some said you can't get it from low impact crash. It's not possible. Some said that people fake it for money. Of course, that's one of them because it's an insurance defense, right? So you have all these experts who are now doing these studies that are, coming up to these conclusions that can then be used in court that are like, I can't say that they're bogus because, somebody else did later. We'll get to that. But I can't say that they're bogus. But going to court and being like, oh, yeah, I have this study that says that it's all psychological and they just want money. That's crazy. So anyway, so this is all like this whole thing started like 1994 or 1994 was that first study that he did, like the whiplash one with the 8 helmets. And then, so he did that 8 helmet study in 1994. And then in 1995 is when they started that, like new program or whatever, the McKinsey slides, McKinsey program. And then it was over those next few years that, you know, he blew up and became like fraud daddy. So 1999, along comes like this leading spinal researcher. He's a forensic medical consultant. His name is Dr. Michael Freeman. So he and some other researchers decided to look at some of these whiplash studies, since at the time, the validity of the whiplash injuries was kind of like a big source of debate in the medical field because they were trying to deny all of these insurance claims and stuff. So Dr. Freeman and these others looked at these 20 different studies, and they found like 9 categories of statements that were basically used by all the defenses on how to deny that there was a causation of injury. Causation of injury as in like, you know, this crash could not have caused your neck to hurt or whatever. So one by one, they are able to go through and kind of like disprove every single one of the defenses for the insurance companies by noting different like scientific methodology flaws in all of them. And for example, like the one with the person like plopping in the chair, you know, that one they were able to debunk it because it's like, okay, it's not the same as plopping in the chair. It doesn't take into consideration like the components of acceleration, like the magnitude and the duration. So like the magnitude is going to be different of plopping in a chair than being hit from behind, and the duration is different. Like plopping into a chair is a shorter thing than like a shorter impact reaction than getting hit. So like there's different things that they didn't take into consideration, right? Their testing showed that the whiplash trauma produces a peak accelerative force. It's more than 150 times greater than that produced by plopping in the chair. So these experts, biomechanical engineers and crash reconstructionists, are saying, oh yeah, he got hit from behind, but it's basically the same as just if he sat down in a chair. If he just like plopped down, like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I plopped down. It's basically the same thing. And they're like, no, once you do like actual methodology and actual scientific calculations, it's 150 times greater than what's produced by plopping in a chair. So, and that's just like one of many of the examples of the problem. And like that study is actually really, really interesting because it kind of like goes through all of them and lays it all out. That's part of the reason I got down this rabbit hole. I've never read so many medical journals in my life. I'm basically a doctor now. I need to tell my brother. He ain't the only doctor in the family anymore. I've read approximately 32 medical journals this week, so you could say it's getting pretty serious. So the point is, Dr. Freeman and these other researchers realize that these studies are clearly misleading, and they're using junk science to like have these insurance companies deny or underpay like tens of thousands of claims based on like BS that they're doing. I'm just gonna put it on my resume. I'm still working on it. So Dr. Freeman realizes like this whole missed defense from the insurance companies, like this is a fraud that is happening in court, and insurance companies are using this to cheat victims. And Dr. Freeman's like, that's messed up. So he does this lecture. I found this lecture. I've also listened to 3 medical lectures this week. So I'm gonna put that on my medical resume, on my CV. My CV's just a growing. I'm just reading some of what y'all said. Okay, so anyway, he did this lecture in Stockholm, and I listened to it, and like he's talking about the systemic issues with like medical legal causation, meaning like there's problems with our system because this is the only situation where you get hurt because of something that someone else did, and then you're called a liar and you're told you have to prove it. He's like, you know, when you're like going to the doctor, you say, I'm hurting. This happened and I'm hurting. And they're not like, prove it. Prove it. You're a liar. You're a fraud. You got hurt in the 4th grade. You just broke up with your boyfriend. Like they're not going through all that. So he's like talking about how like this is a systemic issue in the courts. Brandy hurt me. File a claim. File a claim. You probably deserved it. So he says that, you know, you get hurt because of somebody else, and then their insurance company will call you a liar and tell you that they don't have to pay you. So Dr. Friedman writes this book called Litigating Minor Impact Soft Tissue Cases, where he basically kind of like explains how to use the actual scientific method to invalidate these defense experts' opinions, like that are not actually doing everything they're supposed to be doing. So his book is based on like a scientific, like, or the scientific method and like methodology that he created or whatever, like, or methodology that he did or whatever. But his methodology ends up getting into, it was, there were, I think it was like the 10th Circuit. I haven't organized all of the documents yet. I only have the links organized. I don't know. I'll have to find it. But it's like I think the 10th Circuit or whatever. Anyway, it gets up to like federal court. There was an appeal and they recognized his methodology as valid. So he's like kind of a big deal. So he writes this book, right? And then he continues like doing work in national cases, trying to help strike defense biomechanists junk science by using like Daubert and Fry hearings and kind of showing, you know, scientific method on how those things that they were doing don't work. So then in 2006, that attorney, David Berardinelli, he publishes a book called From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves. Like, for like, you know, you're in good hands at Allstate. It's based on that. So it's like From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves. And he is like, you know what? I'm calling all y'all out. He exposes in great detail all of the corruption of Allstate under this McKinsey Company's guide. And that's the book I ordered, and I can't wait for it to get here. But they didn't have a Kindle version. So anyway, the stuff about all of that, that's kind of what gets us back to this. I'm going to, before I move on to the next thing, I've missed so many of these because I'm like, y'all know my ADD. And if I don't, if I stop when I see like super chats and stuff and text, then I'll get missed, like, you know, side thing. So I am going to stop for a minute so I can catch up on these. I've been so busy on X. I'm glad you did this. I guess everybody's busy on X right now. Happy 24 months, 2 whole years, 2 whole years, and another 2 whole years. Love my BC Zoo crew, mods and chat. I know most of the Zoo crew, I think they're out with Chat Daddy. Chat Daddy's like out there in the pool on a float, y'all. I'm so jealous. I'll be out there in a minute. I'm going to take the rest of the night off when I finish here. Misty Russell, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Advocate, hello, ma'am. Welcome back. Welcome back. Kendra, hello, ma'am. Welcome back. Megan Easton, she's in her terrible twos. I'm a toddler now. Y'all are so loved. We love you too. Breezy, give to 5 memberships. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I see you. I may have missed it, but $400,000 possible to Aperture has to be upright. Right. It's so bad. Tosh, thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Brandy, for the best deep dive in info. Oh, it goes off the rails. I love a deep dive, especially one that exposes corruption, which is what we're about to get to, which is my favorite part. Brandy hurt me. You deserved it, I'm sure. File a claim. Hello, ma'am. I've been seeing you on Twitter. I stay out of a lot of those neighborhoods on Twitter, but when I see your stuff, I'm like, hey, girl, I am glad to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm showing up. 2 whole years. I'm purple. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Oh, you did a collab with Baker. I missed it. See, I've just been working too much to be able to do a whole lot of anything else. Gavel Geese, welcome. Oh, I like that name too. I don't know. My brother does personal injury defense and litigates nearly every case. No handouts. And the ambulance chasers get mad because they are supposed to get a settlement for a false claim. I don't think it's a false claim. I think, obviously, I know that there will be false claims, but I think that it's like the way that, hold on, we'll get to why it's so dirty. Because this isn't saying that it's all insurance companies either. It's not saying it's all insurance companies. There are specific ones that follow this, this way of doing things. And it's really sad. Court TV, who is normally in favor of prosecution, had a segment with a medical examiner pathologist who pointed out the blue paint experiment maneuver should have resulted to bruising the shoulder. Yeah, and the whole thing about like, oh, that could have hit that. If that car is going that fast, it's not just going to. Some of that stuff. Welcome. Okay, I want to get back to it because otherwise I'll get distracted and start talking to y'all again. And then we'll just never get done. We'll just live here. And then we'll still be here in the morning when they come back to court. All right, so where was I? Okay, so the book. So he releases that book in 2006, right? The From Good Hands to Boxing Gloves. So when his book comes out, it basically confirms everything that Dr. Freeman had been working to stop, right? Like it confirms that, like, oh yes, they are specifically trying to, this is like it's their plan. Like it confirms everything he's saying. So, and everything that he's working to stop. So 2 years after that book comes out, they do a second edition of the book. And it's released with chapters from Dr. Freeman about the background of like how all that stuff happened. Basically all that background and stuff that I just went over with y'all, but like he's, obviously like giving like the smarter medical version of it. So everything that Berard and Nellie put in the book confirmed what he had been working to stop. So now they have the second version that has both of it. So the book gets like national attention. He's got all of this information in there about how to deal with the defense biomechanical engineers and accident reconstructionists who are using this like junk science, whatever, to try to work for these insurance companies to make this happen. So Dr. Freeman, who again has built his whole career fighting against all of this, he writes his dedication, like, you know how you have like the dedication in the book. His said, my section of the book is for the tens of thousands of Allstate insureds who have been harmed by Allstate's missed scheme, in hopes that this will provide them future justice. I thought that was really nice. So the book, of course, gets like, national attention. There's one review that said that Dr. Freeman is to be congratulated for his outstanding work in protecting victims. Another praised his contributions and said that it was like the foundation of how to refute junk science that is being perpetrated on the unsuspecting public. So doing good work to help these people who are like totally getting screwed. But not everybody is happy with him and his good work to protect these victims, because for every trial lawyer that Dr. Freeman helps, there's an insurance lawyer who is not happy about it. One of those law groups, pull it up. One of those law groups was like, So this is a New York trial attorney website. This is awesome. I've blogged about delay, deny, defend, and good hands to boxing gloves. Keep it up. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Like I've been on this rabbit hole so bad, and it makes me so mad because like this is like the kind of like, I hate corrupt stuff. So I've been all on this rabbit hole. So this is and also, like, I just really would like to pick your brain about it too, because now I have so many questions, because I'm kind of an expert because I've read 32 journals, but also I have questions. But I appreciate that. Okay, so this is a New York trial firm. They wrote something. Hold on, let me pull it up. Well, first of all, hold on. This, if you go to their practice areas, the very first one is automobile litigation. And it says they have, over 30 years experience handling it, whatever. But they have, hold on, I got to find the other page because I want you to see what they wrote. They are not happy with the expert, or not the expert, with the doctor. Oh, and it also says, like, their website says that they are in-house counsel for large automobile insurance companies. In-house counsel. Here we go. This is one of in 2022 alone, they obtained 12 appellate decisions in favor of our clients and 50 defense verdicts, which resulted in the elimination of over $10 million of exposure for our clients. So they were able to get 50 defense verdicts to keep their clients from having to pay $10 million in claims. And it says that they are Yeah, in-house counsel for large automobile insurance companies. So, oh, they also had, hold on, look at this. And okay, just to compare. Yeah, exposure for our clients is deny claims. Just to compare, they saved their clients $10 million in a year, right? From having to pay it out. The insurance industry made profit, not revenue, profit. Profit. $169 billion last year. 100, not revenue, profit. $169 billion. So their plan is working. Their plan is working. And now let me show you this. Let me tell you why this is funny also, before we even get to that. Everything that I've just walked through for the last hour and a half is what I have found. It's a fraction. It's a summary of what I have found over the last week as I've lived at my desk, because I have been obsessed with what they're doing to people. But all of this is all stuff that came afterwards. What I'm about to show you was number 2. This was the second thing that I pulled. And the reason that is funny is because this is the second thing I pulled out of, I don't know, somewhere around 50 something documents and journals and FOIA requests and emails and phone calls and medical journals and studies and insurance stuff. And I ordered a book. There's a whole thing. So I'm like 50 something into this now. The one I'm about to show you is number 2. So all of the ones who are like coming at me really hard, showing this, is why I kept laughing at it and saying like, okay, all right. The insurance company lawyers are not going to want this doctor who has built his whole career on helping other, people and dedicating this national book to, victims of Allstate and their scheme, which, by the way, is well documented in litigation. Like, this is like, hold on, I can, just so we're clear, because I've loved all the threats about all the defamation I'm going to get and all that stuff. That's been just so we're clear, this is like the first one that I pulled on. This was the first document that I pulled on the, like, some of the class action stuff or whatever. This is not Allstate. This is the Country Mutual Insurance, but they also use the McKinsey slides. So that's why I found this. I stumbled onto this one through that. But hold on, let me get my glasses. Okay, listen to this. The lawsuit arises from defendant and its corporate relatives consistent use of improper claims estimating practices, and misuse of claims estimating software. So this is like that software I was telling you earlier where they have the like automatic thing to make it 20% less than what it should be. And they're continuing to like raise rates and stuff, but they're continuing to like pay out like nothing. That's another thing too. That was a whole nother, there's so much that I didn't even have time to put into all of this, but there's I don't know, it's one of the financial things that I FOIA'd. I can't remember which document it was. I'd have to look it up because it's not in the podcast. It didn't make it to the podcast episode. It was just on my side quest. But it was like, so the way that they look at things, like a lot of how they pay stuff out or whatever, is the amount of like the number of cents per dollar that they bring in. So like for every dollar that they bring in from charging somebody an insurance premium, they have a certain like cents thing or whatever on their financial sheet on what they pay out, right? So when they started doing this, it was like, I'm not quoting this directly because it's on a totally different sheet on a totally different folder that's on a totally different monitor, and my brain is, but so it's not exact, but I think it was like 60 something cents to the dollar, which is still like, which is great profit for insurance companies, right? Like that's, but by the time they were done, or not done, because they're not done, but by the time they were at the end of that, like I think it was 1995 to 2006 is what I pulled, but by the end of it, it was, they were paying out like 40 cents or something crazy like that. So they continued to raise rates and pay out less. That's crazy, right? And got super, super greedy. Super greedy. It's like in their manual to be greedy. That's the whole reason the McKinsey slides are such a problem, because it literally says in the slides that the number one goal is profit. Like it literally, that's not the exact words, but it is the exact sentiment. That's crazy. It's literally, and one thing that the book said, oh, hold on, let me read. One thing that I loved that he wrote in the book, I got to do like my little free chapter while I wait on it to get here. Oh, and there's a U.S. Supreme Court ruling about Freeman's methodology too, and how it's held up in court and it's widely accepted and stuff. So that was kind of cool. Let me see. Oh, there's the Oklahoma case. Gosh, I forgot about that one too. I got all these cases pulled up. That's not the right book. Good hand. Is this it? Oh yeah. This is from Good Hands to Boxing Gloves. As I read the case, I wouldn't have wanted nor been able to write this book without the aid, encouragement, et cetera, et cetera. Michael Freeman, this is where he says, my section of the book is for the tens of thousands of Allstate insureds who have been harmed by Allstate's missed scheme in hopes that this will provide them future justice. I love that. I think that like he's just very humble about it. Let's see. Oh, and also the first volume of this book did not have Dr. Freeman's chapters in it, of course. But also this second version is like the legal version, and it happened in 2008 and the first one came out in 2006. So what's interesting is that all of the Enron stuff happened in between that. So they're going over, he's going over all of this stuff with McKinsey, and McKinsey is the one behind Enron and their practices. And so then all of that train wreck happens. And then this book comes out and they're like, by the way, when we were saying all that, I didn't know that. Anyway, it was interesting. There's one thing. Oh, see, he does, and this is why I want the book. He does an actual breakdown of what's on, like summary of from his notes and everything of what's on the slides. Okay, this is the part I wanted to read. Good books are like candy. This is sweet, 2 stories. This book is about an American religion, insurance. The insurance religion has been perverted because it has been corrupted by unmitigated greed. Let me find. Okay. High standards with ethical, this part. High standards with ethical conduct probably carried into the second half of the 20th century, during which time liability insurance was introduced. The oath of charter property and casualty underwriters was, and strangely still is, I shall strive to ascertain and understand the needs of others and place their interests above my own. And place their interests above my own. Powerful promise. 1966 standard for comprehensive general liability insurance propelled the growth for insurance. Property insurance was mandated by mortgage lending institutions. Car insurance mandated by state authorities. So insurance product is now what everybody needs. Let's see, there's another part. Just Say No has an especially sweet sound to parties, including insurance companies who do not want to live up to their word. This is dubbed efficient breach. This bedrock economic principle is set forth. Hold on, look at this too. I think it's on this one. Here we go. This is it. Okay, the lawyer has provided an enormous public and professional service by exposing on an incredibly detailed basis Allstate's corruption of insurance under the able tutelage of McKinsey and Company. An unstated but possibly the most important theme is that McKinsey and Company recruits the best and brightest graduates from American business schools and law schools to go into the chisel and cheat business and not into honest endeavor. The McKinsey and Company lesson in Allstate case is clear. Do not prepare and sell honest food at an honest price when you can short weigh and then shortchange the customer. It is all about money, but not money injured parties can eat or use to pay for medical care. That, to me, was the McKinsey and Company's website states that its mission is to help its clients make lasting and substantial improvements in their performance. But for their performance. But for Allstate, McKinsey did the opposite. It helped Allstate deliver less and made the delivery more difficult for the customer. Almost no lawyers spend the time to lay out on a step-by-step basis what they have done and how. Favorable decisions are badges of honor. And Mr. Berardinelli has many. In this book, he tells of the corruption of insurance on a massive scale, largely silent and unseen. The Allstate "you do not need a lawyer" campaign was just plain false advertising. At the time, Allstate's own files showed that represented claimants received more after paying legal fees than unrepresented claimants. This false campaign was stopped because the authorities, one of the few effective governmental actions. So he shows from the documents from McKinsey that McKinsey & Company and Allstate planned or schemed to impose greater litigation on claimants, the court system, and the taxpayers. As in, they literally are scheming to abuse the court system and experts and the whole process to profit. And it says the multiple impacts of this burden on judges is not clear. So, when Allstate retained them, they knew the insurance trade. Some of the McKinsey & Company's consulting advice would stand lawyers in good stead. Always promise less than you know you can deliver. Structure client meetings so that there are no surprises. Both the good news and the bad are signaled before formal presentations. Rather than teach Allstate how to make insurance work and work better, McKinsey taught Allstate how to deliver less and less. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else in there that it says every major disaster brings two things from Allstate. The first is crocodile tears, and the second is a premium increase. I tell you, after the hurricanes and stuff, like here, our rates are crazy. So then when I see that they made $169 billion in profits last year. Oh, this part. Look, there is no industry other than the insurance industry that would even dare argue for a right to be wrong. Policyholders and claimants have no comparable right to be wrong. It's crazy, right? Okay, so this court case is one of the first ones that I kind of looked at, but there was a part, I think it's right here. So they, along with many other large property and casualty insurers, hired McKinsey & Company to redesign their claims department and turn it into a profit center. The task was to reduce loss overpayments, or leakage is what they call it. And they created a best practices. Oh, and you know what? They knew that this was going to like be terrible for people. So part of their best practices, they removed like certain questions on the, like on the, what they call it, like the survey or whatever. They removed certain things from that, saying, you know, they didn't want to hear it because they knew everybody would be unhappy. They didn't want to hear it. They found the largest savings were to be found in the claims estimating portion. Okay, so the claims estimating portion, of course, is the amount that they're claiming for different things. One of those things, of course, medical care. So you have this doctor, Dr. Freeman, who has built his entire life or career on helping people who are getting, you know, screwed by these greedy insurance companies and greedy experts and doctors who are like lying and faking it so that they can get paid. So, so this trial attorney that is an in-house attorney for these large insurance companies doesn't like him. So they say they post this. This is March 2016. This is 8 years after the book has come out. What you need to know about missed expert, Dr. Michael Freeman. It says that he lectures across the country for the plaintiff's bar on minor impact soft tissue cases. He has a YouTube video, Defeating the Missed Defense. Watch here. There's no link here, but I found it anyway. But anyway, interesting video. So, and then it says how to tell the adjuster why they're wrong about the occupant risk in minor impact cases. So these are like all the different things that he has, where he goes through the scientific method. He has like this one, like three-part method or whatever. That's the one that was approved by the Supreme Court and all that. So this part, when you put, and this is in their own words, their own website, in-house counsel for large automobile insurance companies. Keep that in mind. When you put yourself out as an expert of this caliber, people are bound to check for prior testimony, prior Fry and Daubert decisions, and prior cross-examination. When we did some digging, we found gold on this guy. Let that sink in, how that's worded. We did some digging, and this is on a lawyer's website. We did some digging and found gold on this guy, including this letter of reprimand from Western States Chiropractic College with this rebuke from the executive vice president here. And he has the link. I'll pull it up in a minute. Please feel free to pass around the transcript from cross-examination of Dr. Freeman in our Bronx County case last month. I'm sure this will help if you run across this expert. So here's why this is funny. Before I even pull it up, here's why this is funny. Well, first of all, let me say this. Before Dr. Freeman was Dr. Freeman, he was Michael. He grew up in Oregon. He went to University of Oregon, and then he went to chiropractic school. He wanted to be a chiropractor. His dad was a chiropractor when he was young. So he was like a standout at the school. He was exceptional. And in order to graduate, you have to have a certain number of patients that you have to see in order to fill the requirements to get your diploma. So the problem is that the clinic didn't have enough patients for each of the interns to see, because he was interning there to, like, this part of being in school there. So there weren't enough patients for each of them to see. It was like a common problem, I guess. So when it was getting close to graduation and you knew that there weren't going to be enough patients to see to get your time in, he said that the clinic would allow the interns to observe things that were done by other clinicians. And he said that everybody would basically put those patients on their list. So you're putting patients that you observed, but not patients that were yours. So he said that it was basically like something that everyone did because there weren't enough patients. He compared it in one of the depositions to speeding. He's like, it was something that, basically that everybody did. It was just kind of like an accepted thing, whatever. So he said that, okay. So he does all that. He turns it in, right? He graduates, or he gets to the graduation, whatever. Like he's at graduation. He's the valedictorian in his class, by the way. He gives his graduation speech, or his valedictorian speech at graduation or whatever. And then he gets called a week later to do his exit interview. At his exit interview, I guess they asked him about like the patients all being his or whatever. And he was like, I wasn't going to lie. So he told them, like, no, they, some of those were just the ones that I observed. Those weren't all my patients. So he has already done his valedictorian speech. He has already, like, you know, done everything he needed to do except for the patients, because I'm shedding. Because he said that he was like, yeah, it was something that they all did. But when they asked me about it on my exit interview, I'm not going to lie. He's like, I refuse to lie about it. Those weren't my patients. I put them on there because that's what we all did because there weren't enough, but those weren't mine. So he wasn't going to lie. So he ended up getting suspended for a term, which they didn't make him like do all of his, exit exam and all that again. He just had to come back like for a quarter or whatever. It wasn't like a full semester. He got suspended for that, like for that term that and then got to come back and just see the 20 patients or whatever, and then he could, get his diploma. So he'd already done everything else. So that was his punishment. And then he got like a reprimand letter. So here's the reprimand letter. This is 1986. 1986. This is to inform you officially of my decision regarding the charges of cheating and dishonest behavior which have been brought against you. It is my judgment that you did willfully and knowingly provide false information to your clinic director in an effort to complete clinic graduation requirements. This behavior is naturally against the policies of the institution and the violation of generally accepted standards of higher education. So, cannot express or impress you seriousness of your offense, et cetera, placing yourself in the rules. So hereby suspend you for a period of 1 full quarter and requires that you re-enroll for spring term of 1987 to complete all clinical requirements which have been determined fraudulent and or suspect, which means the patients. Successful completion will result in the issuance of your diploma. So he got suspended for that quarter and then had to come back and see the patients, but they didn't make him redo his exams and all that. They made him pay another tuition though to see the stuff, which look at that tuition, $500 for the quarter. But you will not be required to retake the clinic examination. So he has already given the valedictorian address at graduation, gone through all this, thinks that he's done. And then on the exit interview, it's like, no, those weren't mine. Because he's like, I refuse to lie. He said in one of the depositions, like, because they bring it up, because see, now that's the thing. See, and here's where this gets even more frustrating in my humble opinion. This guy has spent his entire life like trying to help people who are getting, defrauded and helping people. He's got like a 30-page CV. He holds 6 university degrees. Like he's medical doctor. He's got a couple of masters, PhD, plus bachelor's in chiropractic. And even like, yeah, he got suspended for the quarter or whatever because he told it, like, he told the truth. He could have just let it be. I always wonder if he regrets that, but he doesn't seem like it in any of the depositions. He's always like, no, I wasn't going to say what, I wasn't going to say, no, I'm not doing that. But anyway, he's a tenured professor. He has like his little I say little, that sounds demeaning. His 3-step approach to the injury causation investigation has been accepted by the U.S. Supreme Court, and it's now an accepted methodology. He is like, what else? Like he was a consultant for NASA and for Congress, for U.S. Congress, on the biomechanics of injury. Keep that part in mind when Let me repeat that part. He has been a consultant to NASA and the US Congress on the biomechanics of injury. He's just a chiropractor trying to be an engineer. And he's dedicated his whole career like to, protect victims from unethical and fraudulent practices of insurance companies. So what do the attorneys of those insurance companies do? They focus all their time trying to discredit him with his college suspension from 30 plus years ago. But it's funny because it seems like he's used to it by now, because the way that okay, hold on, let me show you. This part's funny. He's got to be used to it by now. This is, oh, well, hold on, let me get my one that's already marked up so I can go to my highlighted parts. Because when they start like being like aggressive and all that, is this one it? Wait, that one's not it. God, I got so many transcripts here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is that attorney's office wanted to question him on this, because when he goes in and says, no, these insurance lawyers are relying on junk science, and here's my Supreme Court, knowledge, like my Supreme Court accepted knowledge on the investigation process that you go through to show that that's not valid or whatever. He goes through all of that, and then they're like, oh yeah, but remember that one time when you got suspended in college because you're a fraud? This is why I wanted to, when everybody is calling me a fraud and saying that like I'm trying to victimize Dr. Welcher, and all that, and they're calling this guy a fraud because of that whole exchange and all that stuff. That's why I was like completely unbothered, because they're doing what the greedy insurance companies are doing. They're just going after a snapshot of his background because it fits their narrative. This guy's like a big deal. And he knows that the insurance companies don't like that he's doing what he's doing to help the victims that they're victimizing. So they go after his credibility. So he goes through and he does all this or whatever. And then you can tell that he's like, he just kind of laughs when they started on all this, because they start being really aggressive. And he even tells them like, this is they're like, is this funny? He's like, yeah, it's a ridiculous line of questioning. So they want to talk about and he hasn't practiced he hasn't been a practicing chiropractor in years and years and years. Like he started out as that and then went on doing like a bunch of other things. Hold on, I have to zoom out so I can find it quicker. Okay, so this is the cross-examination. So he goes over the CV and stuff. And he's been all over the world. Oh, and okay, so this attorney's trying to be rude and trying to like, and Dr. Freeman's just like not bothered. Where is it? Oh, so one of the schools that he went to was in Sweden. Let's see. This part was funny. He says, Doctor of Medicine, you speak Swedish, by the way. He said a little bit. And the attorney said, but you attended a medical school in Sweden. And he said, where everybody spoke English. I thought that was hilarious. You're taking a postdoctorate course in Sweden, the one you referred to before in your direct examination, correct? He said, no, my postdoctorate was here in the United States. This lawyer like can't keep up with everything that the doctor does because he's done so much. So he keeps. My husband just came to the window and that scared the crap out of me. Oh, okay. So here's the chiropractor part. Okay, so he says, doctor, you're a chiropractor, correct? He said, I used to be a chiropractor. That's correct. I haven't practiced as one in many years. He went to Western States Chiropractic College 30 plus years ago. So this is where so this is outside the presence of the jury. This is at sidebar, where the attorney's saying he falsified data to graduate and get clinical requirements. I have letters about it and testimony about it from depositions where he's admitted it, because he goes through this with every one of their lawyers. So they ask him on cross-examination from the jury. Now they're back in front of the jury. Doctor, were you found to have willfully and knowingly provided false information to your clinical director in an effort to get your clinical graduation requirements? Was that true? And he said, I cannot answer your question yes or no, because it was kind of shedding again. The way he asks a few things, he kind of makes it hard to answer yes or no, but he wants yes or no questions. So anyway, he said, were you suspended from Western States Chiropractic College for lying about the clinical data? He said, I can't answer that yes or no. Do you know Robert Toller? That's the vice president dude who sent him the letter. So then he reads it. Have you seen those before? Yes. Okay. So he shows him that letter that I just showed y'all, right? And he says, okay, now that you've looked at it, does it refresh your recollection as to whether or not you were found guilty of cheating with regard to your clinical requirements in chiropractic school? So he laughs because he says, were you found guilty of cheating with regard to your clinical requirements in school? So he laughs. And so the attorney's like, you think that's funny? He's like, it's an absurd question. And so, yeah, I do think it's funny. It's a 30-year-old suspension for breaking rules at a school that everybody broke. Everybody broke those rules. He said, so the attorney jumps on that. He's like, oh, so when you commit bad behavior, doctor, you just say everybody else does it too. So I can do it too, right? The objection is overruled. So he said, no, when you commit bad behavior or behavior that's against the rules, it's different than committing bad behavior. When you commit bad behavior or behavior that's against the rules, it's different than committing bad behavior. If the rules cannot actually be followed, then there is, it's like saying, is speeding bad behavior? A lot of people speed because the speed limit might be considered too low by some people who travel in a particular area. It's not necessarily reinforced by what other people do. So the reason he can't answer, when he's saying, I can't answer those questions, the reason he can't answer those questions is because he's asking, like, did you knowingly lie to the clinical director? No, the clinical director, like, they knew that they were that that's what was happening. It was approved through, like, Lucy's banging at the door. It was approved through them. It was, hold on, Woos. So he can't say, so he's trying to get him into that, but Dr. Freeman's like, I can't answer that yes or no, because yes, there were patients on the thing that wasn't his, but no, he didn't lie to his clinical director. So the guy's trying to like nail him on it. And I think that's probably why he found it funny. Cause it is like once you've, hi, big girl. Hi, big girl. Have you been in the pool? Hi. Oh, you know, you just paws are wet. Hi. Oh my gosh, you're so excited. You're so excited. Say hi to your friends. Say hi to your friends. We're talking about Dr. Freeman. Talking about Dr. Freeman. Lucy's heard about Dr. Freeman all week. Okay, so anyway, but in that particular case, I was considered the single most outstanding student in my class, and I was unable to actually finish my coursework. Oh, this is fun. Oh, yeah. So he said, so the attorney said, yeah, we'll talk about how outstanding in a moment, doctor. And then there was an objection to the commentary that was sustained. I can picture like an aggressive lawyer saying like that too. I picture it. I hear it. My voice is in my head. So let's see. But I'd like you to just answer my question. Were you suspended and enforced to re-enroll in chiropractic school and then complete all of your clinical requirements? He said, yes. 30 years ago. And specifically, doctor, with respect to your clinical requirements, you lied about people that you allegedly treated clinically and submitted them so you could graduate on time. Would that be accurate? He said, false. That's completely false. I refuse to lie. He said, you refuse to lie? He said, and that's why I got in trouble. So I know everybody keeps saying that. I've blocked so many. I don't even know what's going on out there. They can do their own thing. So he said, that's false. I refuse to lie. And that's how I got in trouble. So then they move on. So so now that you know what actually happened, there's a case let me find it. Gosh, I've got so many. Wait, is it this one? That's 144 pages. What's that one? Maybe not that one. Oh gosh, I've got so many transcripts. Hold on. I'm trying to find the one that started this whole thing. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. So this is what started the whole thing. This is the one that I saw that I was like, what is this? And reading it after going through one of them was clever today with an insult. It told me that rock is fitting, that she seemed pebble smarter than me. That's look, if they can be funny with it, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Okay, so this is a request for a new trial, and the new trial is like that. That's a whole another thing that I have gone down the rabbit hole on. Spoiler: the new trial was denied, and there's some California laws that completely screwed the guy. But look, this is there's a guy. He's 61 years old. His name is Mr. Dew. He's in California. He had, they call it a collision, but it wasn't really like a collision. Like I think I have to go back and look. I think there was no damage to his car or anything. He did but he ran into something or did something, whatever it was. There was no damage to his car or anything like that. But a couple days later, he was like, his neck was hurting. So he went to the chiropractor. He had like, I think 3 weeks or whatever that he saw the chiropractor those 3 weeks, and then, didn't need any more, didn't stop going, didn't file an insurance claim, nothing like that. That was in like November of 2016. Then in January of 2017, he was stopped in traffic, and this guy came behind him and hit him. And there wasn't apparently like a ton of damage to his car, but the car, like there was, I guess, damage, but not like, it was one of the minimal damage or whatever to his car. But I guess there was pretty bad damage to the other guy's car. Like even like his hood was bent, and then he had like one of those like really, what they call them, like the heavy duty bumpers or whatever. And like his heavy duty bumper was like crunched in, and then his hood was creased. So after that one, he was hurting, but he was hurting, like, I guess his arms and one of his legs was hurting or whatever. So different pain, but on this one he hurt. So he filed a claim because obviously like the dude hit him from behind, and they denied it, took him to court, and Dr. Welcher was his expert. So Dr. Welcher was his expert, and he got up there to talk about the... Hi.
Are you on live?
Yep.
Oh.
Sydney's here. Here.
Let me say hey. Hey guys. What are y'all talking about?
Insurance fraud.
Oh,
Fun stuff.
fun stuff. Okay, bye. I was just making sure you were good.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That's my stepdaughter. All right, so he gets up there. Dr. Welcher is the hired biomechanical engineer, crash reconstructionist for the insurance company. And here's why that bothers me. Here's this, all of that is what got me to this. This is what bothers me. I spent all this time looking at all of this stuff about this whole rabbit hole about the insurance fraud and how these specific doctors and biomechanical engineers and crash reconstructionists will be hired specifically by the insurance companies using junk science that they know is junk science in order to keep the insurance companies from having to pay claims that are valid. And I'm sure some of them, I'm not saying that there's, not people who aren't filing, claims that aren't valid. Like, I get that. But they're trying not to pay like any of them, right? That's what's, and like they're using science that literally isn't true. And there's books showing that this is the plan. And it took me going through all of that big, huge rabbit hole to get to this part, to where now I'm like, how much do I trust him? Because if you'll use debunked methodology to try to, you know, I mean, he's getting paid. I get it. But for me personally, it calls everything into question for me. It makes me, after seeing all of that stuff and like reading about what all that attorney and that doctor and these people have done to try to shed light on this problem and like bring, attention to how corrupt everything is and expose it so that people stop getting screwed out of it. Like, and y'all, some of the stories that you hear, like some of the stories of like how, you know, how people were hurt and they were taken to court and like just all their personal stuff used against them, told they're liars, told they're frauds. And all just because they were minding their own business, got hit by somebody else. And that person has insurance specifically to cover things like this. But the insurance companies don't want to pay it because they're more interested in racking up more millions, billions now in profit. And these experts are okay with it. These doctors are okay with it. These attorneys are okay with it. And to get up there and be like, because think about it like this. Okay, if an expert gets up there and lies, because using stuff that you know isn't true is a lie. So if they do that, then you're literally getting up there to lie about somebody else being hurt and you're saying that they're lying. You're lying, but you're accusing them of lying so that you can get paid, but they don't. But they're the ones that got hurt. That's crazy, right? Where can you find this document? This whole document? Which one? This one was from, I think this one was from a FOIA request. There are screenshots of it, I think, on the internet, but not the whole thing. So, anyway, this is the motion for a retrial from that case. The reason this one caught my attention was because it's very harshly worded. And I thought for something to be put in court papers where you call, because he said something, well, he didn't call Welcher a fraud. He said it is laid bare who the fraud is. I thought for that to be in court papers, that's strong. And he calls his testimony perjury. And he says that he lied on the stand. And I was like, that's some big stuff. But I'm like, okay, I'm just seeing screenshots of it. That's before I actually, got the documents. But I thought, that's some big stuff. So I was like, you better have some stuff in your corner if you're going to say something like that. But I'm like, okay, fighting vigorously for your client. So I kind of like took it with a grain of salt, read it, whatever. So this is what it says. Called Dr. Welcher's testimony perjury. He said that he claimed personal knowledge and made demonstrably false claims about the authors of an article that criticized his methodology as grossly understating injuries from traumatic events by comparing them to benign activities of daily living. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. Let me pull that one up. All right. This is an article, International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. this is here, Dr. Freeman. So Dr. Freeman wrote this one, the one that we've been Dr. Freeman admitted he was guilty. Is that what you got out of all that? Okay. So this is it's the journal that, or the study that Dr. Freeman did, where they're basically going over all of the studies that Welcher had done among other people. And I won't go into all the boring details. It's not too boring to me because I've been through all this, but basically, they went through why a lot of those were flawed. Like, for example, the one study, like that's the easiest to reference, the one that we already talked about, it was 8 people. And and it was like all, like one of the issues was that it was only 8 people. One of it was like, it's all guys. One of it's like, okay, well, it's the same authors, like Welcher and whoever, doing certain studies, but they're all doing it like they're volunteering like themselves. It's not like a actual, sample of what you can really test or whatever. Like whatever the issues were, there's like all these different issues and all these different things happening with all of them that kind of make them not valid with those specific ones that they were looking at. The data was pulled, compared in 3 different categories of published literature: the volunteer rear impact crash testing studies, the ADL, which is like the daily activity stuff, which is the one we're going to talk about in a second, and then the observational studies of real world impacts. So here's the thing. The results of the analysis were that the acceleration, the peak linear and angular acceleration forces to the head during the impact crash tests were typically at least several times greater than the average forces observed doing the ADLs. So when Welcher is in this trial, he compares the injury that Mr. Dew, I think is what it is. He compares the injury that he has to like, I can't remember what it was. Like it's like 200 pages in or something. It's like he compares it to like lifting a gallon of milk or something. I can't remember, something like that. But basically, he's comparing that to the everyday stuff. So part of that study in this was that's not valid, because while if you test them the way that, like, if you actually like test them properly, scientifically, don't do that again. Don't come to the window again. I thought somebody's coming to get me. Well,
Sydney said everybody wants me to say hey.
I'll be done in a minute. We're almost wrapping up.
We're grilling.
Okay. Oh, we're grilling?
Let them know we grilling.
Okay, I'm coming out there then. I need it. I'll at least get a couple hours off.
Tell all my fans I said hey.
Get out of here. Go on.
No, you better tell them. You better tell them.
He says hey. Oh, we're grilling. I gotta wrap up. Okay, so anyway, the testing was showing that the difference in like the force in like the test and then the everyday stuff is at least several times higher, several times more, whatever, right? Several times is a lot. But here's the kicker. The results show that the chance for injury is not several times higher. It's at least 2,000 times greater than for any of the ADLs. And this goes through like all of the reasons for that. Like you can't, like you'll get hurt if you or you're more likely to get hurt or whatever, like because of, like I said earlier in the stream, like, your body tensing up or whatever, all those things, you're more likely to have like all those different variances cause different things. You can't just say like, oh, lifting this milk jug is the same as getting hit by a car, like, at slow speed. You can't just say, yep, it's the same thing, because it's about the same impact, because there's so many other factors. So they go through all of this stuff, and like the stuff that Welcher was saying in trial, and they go through the study, and they're like, they walk through that 3-step whatever process, and it's like, and show why it's not valid and why it's debunked. So they brought that up to him, like this study that had come out, because this study came out, and like you can find it, like, I mean, there's articles on it everywhere, every trial website, whatever, like it's, because it was such a big deal. And so they bring it up to Dr. Welcher during his cross-examination, and he said that Dr. Welcher said about Mr. Freeman that he was kicked out of school for fraudulently misrepresenting his credentials. And the attorney said, it is laid bare who the fraud is. And he said, it rather speaks for itself how significant and dramatic this testimony was in the course of cross-examination, including defense counsel. I'm going to skip over all this part. That stuff will be in the podcast part, but I'm ready to go actually spend time with my family because I haven't. So I'm going to get down to this part. Here it is. The most dramatic event at trial, the coup de grace, Dr. Welcher's testimony. So he brings it up and he says, Dr. Welcher knew all about it and discussed it during his cross-examination. It says that he thereupon slandered the authors. And he called them a bunch of chiropractors who had no business analyzing collisions. He called them a bunch of chiropractors who have no business analyzing collisions. Now, that's how he words it. The other attorney said that what he said was that they're a bunch of chiropractors trying to be engineers or trying to do engineering or something to that nature. So like they have like a little bit of a different, and when all of these were filed, like the transcripts weren't out. So there's like only like I think it's listed in the thing as like rough transcript or whatever. So like it's not, so they both have, it's basically the same thing, but they have pretty much the same meaning. That he called them a bunch of chiropractors who had no business analyzing collisions or doing engineering. Now, remember when I said to keep in mind that he was literally, the consultant to NASA and the US Congress for that exact thing? But okay, he has no business doing it. He's just a chiropractor. And then he claimed that Dr. Freeman was kicked out of school for fraudulently representing his credentials. This was a terrible lie, and it will spread through the community like California forest fire. So that is a lie. Saying that he was kicked out of school well, first of all, let's just start with that part. Saying that he was kicked out of school, that's a lie. He was not kicked out of school. Being kicked out of school is something very different than getting suspended for whatever specific amount of time. It's two different things. If your kid comes home and says, I got kicked out of school, that's different than if your kid comes home and says, I got suspended. A suspension is And the reason why it matters is because it has two very, very different implications. And that's why it matters that it's a lie, because it's two very different things. And there are some things where semantics don't matter. This is not one of those things. This is not one of those things. Saying in court in front of the jury that the doctor who has proven that your methodology is junk science in this article, saying he was kicked out of school for fraudulently representing his credentials, what that does to that jury is give them this idea that, oh, well, whoever said that isn't a real doctor. He didn't, he was kicked out of school. He was whatever. It's two very different things. And I don't care how much you try to make it the same thing. It's not. It's two very different things. And so when you say which is why all of the ones who are calling Dr. Freeman, which actually I feel bad that now he's getting this doctor who has spent, his whole career trying to help people is getting trashed on the internet because people are assholes and don't like me. And that right there, and I know y'all are watching, so you know, that right there is probably the single most hypocritical and disgusting thing. I don't care what you say about me. I don't you see how bothered I am. The only thing that bothers me about what people are doing right now is which Dr. Freeman doesn't even he could give two shits either, but it's just unfair that he is being, called a fraud and all this stuff because they're so desperate to troll me that they're going to take him down. And that is what makes the hypocrisy just wild. You are so angry that I pulled a court document and posted it. I didn't even post the document, actually. I posted parts of what was said in it, parts of what the attorney said. I have been, the vile things that have been sent to me and said to me, and I don't even see, I see a small fraction of it. It doesn't bother me. I could give two shits. It's embarrassing for you because you're, who acts like that, but it doesn't bother me. But I hope that people can maybe take a look at how hypocritical it is to trash somebody that you don't know anything about because you want to prove me wrong. This man has spent his entire career fighting for people, doing what he can for people. And Welcher did lie about him in court. He did misrepresent what happened. He did use methodology that's junk science. All of those things were true. Regardless of anything to do with the Karen Reed case, I ended up down this rabbit hole, and it all started with this. It led to all of those other things. It all started with this one little screenshot that I saw of this document. And I saw that, went down this whole rabbit hole, and I thought, man, this doctor has worked so hard, you know, like to do so much for so many people and work for these victims. And I was like, that's really cool. And he's got such an impressive career. And he does have his, you know, methodology and his studies and all that. Like this is debunked stuff. And when Welcher said something about like, when he said something about Dr. Scorty Bello about how like, I wouldn't ask somebody like her for whatever it was, for a medical opinion that an autopsy or like a, you know, what was it, manner of death, or was it manner of death that he said that about, I think. I was like, I wouldn't ask somebody like her. That's her job. But I remember thinking like he was just so rude about it. So then when I saw this screenshot, I was like, oh, that kind of reminds me of that, you know? And that's how I got down this rabbit hole. And then I saw like how much Dr. Freeman has done. And if y'all have time, like, you know, some of the stuff that he's done for, he's very impressive. And seeing that Dr. Welcher, the way that it came out is like he needed to be right, so he slandered somebody else. And that's exactly what they're doing. They needed to be right. So they're slandering this doctor who has spent his whole career trying to help victims. And they did all that without actually looking into any of it. And I think that sucks for Dr. Freeman. So I am going to make sure that I show how much he has actually done for victims. I think it's pretty impressive. And just as I've dug into it, like I've talked to a couple people like two people who fight, you know, with insurance companies and stuff all the time like this. And both of them knew who they were, both of them knew who he was, which I thought was kind of cool. But saying that he's a chiropractor who has no business analyzing collisions when that's part of what he actually does. And he's done it, you know, as a consultant in the US Congress and NASA and stuff like this. And he has like all these degrees and he has a 30-page CV and all that stuff. Trying to minimize everything that he's done and accomplished based on a mistake he made 30-something years ago. I'm like, oh, okay. Y'all can try to discredit everything I do, everything I think, everything I feel, dehumanize me, whatever. But it ain't gonna change nothing. I think that's what people don't seem to understand. This doctor has done so many great things. You being bothered by, you know, by him on the internet isn't going to change the fact that he's helped so many people. And I, for one, and I'll post some of his stuff. I'll post some of his stuff on Twitter, like some of his lectures and stuff. The one that he talks about how like, there's one that, and I think there's a clip of it that's going to be in the podcast. It's like the one that I think hit me the most because I loved what he said. He was like, he said something about, you know, it's so important to get the proper methodology in courts because he's like, that way, you know, you're getting correct decisions. It doesn't matter like, you know, judgment or not judgment or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter like awarding money or not awarding money or like awarding this amount or awarding that amount. He said, it's not about that. It's about the systemic issue of having the proper methodology behind what your experts are presenting in order to get the right decisions in court. And a lot of times if the judges don't understand it, which is funny that he even said that, because there was one of the filings that I saw where the judge completely missed everything that was in his medical journal and was like confusing. Anyway, a whole nother tangent. But he's talking about how like it's so important, and every single thing that he's like, all of his lectures, all of his everything, whatever, like he's so focused on trying to help and do the right thing. And I think that, you know, I think that says a lot about him. I think, I think it sucks that I went down this whole rabbit hole and thought like, man, what a good dude. It sucks that he's getting slandered. And I said something about it, and now he's getting slandered instead of by one, you know, asshole on the stand. Now he's getting slandered by, you know, a bunch of bored assholes on the internet. All because they just want to be superior. And I think that sucks because he's done so much. But also, he's like traveling the world trying to save people and shit. So he's not bothered by what you're doing in Indiana. I am going to go spend time with my family. I am glad we got to hang out. Ended up doing this longer than I thought I was going to. But like I said, it's a long I'm not even going to respond to that. Okay, I am going to respond to that actually. I'm not going to call you by name because I don't want, and nobody else needs to respond to it. I'm going to say it because I'm going to say it. I don't need anybody else to say it. I don't need anybody else to say anything about it. I'm going to say it, and then we're going to end this. If you are harassing somebody, you're a douchebag. If you are trolling somebody on the internet, you're a douchebag. If you are intentionally trying to cause pain to somebody, you're an asshole. And that is your fault. That is your fault. It is your fault. You are responsible for what you do to people. You are responsible for what you do to people. Sydney talked about this today too. She said at church this morning, you can't behave a certain way and then say, I'm doing this because of somebody else. You can't see somebody else behaving a certain way and blame it on somebody else. They are not being hateful, terrible people because Karen Reed did something to set this in motion. They are being hateful, terrible people because that is what's in their heart right now. And I think that that's sad for them. And I hope that that changes because that has to be miserable. So I do hope that that changes. But that is absolutely nobody's fault but their own. They are making their own decisions and acting on them. That is not in response to Turtle Boy because I am not Turtle Boy. That is not in response to Karen Reed because I am not Karen Reed. That is response to the person that they are in themselves. And it can get hard when you are wrapped up in that much negativity, and I get it, and I have suffered from it too. I have been there. So I get it. But at some point, it is your own responsibility as an adult and as a human to realize that you are drowning in negativity, remove yourself from it, refocus, and go from there. It is nobody's fault but your own for how you treat people. Period. Period. And when I said something online about like, oh, the targeted hate comes in waves, it's my turn, whatever, you know, it's not effective. But because like I said, I'm bothered. The amount of people who were like, oh, well, Turtle Boy. Oh, well, Karen Reed. What about them has nothing to do with it? You are responsible for how you treat people. I am responsible for how I treat people. And when we don't do the right thing, it's up to us to quit doing the wrong thing. So with that, I am going to go hang out with my family. Don't engage if they're being hateful. Like I said, staying out of it does wonders for the soul. I love all of y'all. You're viewed as part of the campaign to free her. That's all I'm saying. Well, you know what? It is not my responsibility for what other people's perceptions are. And it's also none of my business. I don't care who thinks I'm part of what. I don't care who perceives me as part of what. I care about justice. I care about expressing my own opinions. I don't agree with everything the defense says. I don't agree with everything the prosecution says. No matter what, I still don't like Hank Brennan. And I see reasonable doubt. That's where I'm at. That's where I've been at. That's where I'll stay at until something can push me over that hump of beyond a reasonable doubt. So I've been clear about where I stand. I've been clear about what I think. I've been clear that my opinions are mine and your opinions can be yours. But also, I want to be very clear about this. If you are treating somebody like shit, it's your fault and you should stop. And that's all I got. I had so much fun with y'all today. I'm going to go spend time with my family. I will see y'all bright and early in the morning. Y'all, we have day 2 of the defense tomorrow. We will be, I think they have Lucky that is going to be coming since he was there. And then I think what's her name? Dever. The one that was, I can't announce Boston. I think she's going to be there tomorrow too. So we'll see what all happens. I had so much fun with y'all tonight. Thank you for going down this rabbit hole with me. And also, just say no to big insurance companies, right? Gosh, that's crazy, right? When I get that book, maybe we'll do like a book club on the book and all the stuff going on with it. Yeah, it's like Dever. Yeah, they did put Denver on the thing, but you know, they've never been big at spelling things right. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I will see you tomorrow. Get ready for Hank Brennan's voice.